It's 8:48 this morning, and as you just heard, the topic of real diversity is gaining more momentum. Schools and businesses are trying to make sure they're adding more voices to the conversation. But who's really walking the walk? Well, Fifth Third Bank and the Cincinnati Chamber are presenting Diverse by Design to celebrate the importance of inclusion in the workplace. Mary McFarland is the Vice President of Inclusion and Diversity for Fifth Third Bank and is kind enough to spend some time with us today. Good to see you, Mary.
Oh, well, thanks so much for having me.
So, this comes, we just saw it. It comes at a
Yes.
really divisive time in our country. So what is your perspective on perhaps the strides being made in inclusive and diversity? We'll start with the positive part.
Right, absolutely. So we're excited that we have this Diversity Leadership Symposium and that it's sold out this year.
That's good.
With 800 seats. And it's really an opportunity to bring in some key thought leaders in the area of diversity and inclusion, as well as to spotlight what things are working well here in the Cincinnati region through some workshops that we're having.
So what are some of the things that are working here?
Yeah, so one of the workshops, which relates directly to the story you just had, was on mitigating bias. We realize that there are biases in a lot of our different processes in the workplace or at colleges, and so this will be a way to help you understand where does that bias come from, what can you do about it, how can you mitigate bias, and also thinking about being proactive about it around what processes, like the interviewing process or the hiring process, to ensure it doesn't happen.
Well, you said that you had sold all the seats, and I know a lot of leaders in business will be there, but for employees, what does it mean for them to have their bosses and their business leaders discussing these kinds of things and trying to make a change?
Yeah, and that's exactly what it means. It means real change within the workplace, is that these leaders can come together and share their ideas and thoughts and challenges, and then come back with some actionable solutions in their workplace that will impact the everyday employee.
How have you seen employees benefit from having a diverse, inclusive business climate, place to work?
Well, absolutely. One of the ways that employees benefit, for example, many companies have these, call it employee resource groups. We call them business resource groups, but it's a way for employees to get actively engaged and to give their thoughts and opinions on product launches, on benefits for employees. So it's a way to get actively involved and really be a part of the change you want to see and to see it happen.
What are some of the other things that will be discussed on Friday?
Yeah, so a couple other workshops that we're having, so one's on tackling tough topics in the workplace, which it is a polarizing world these days, and you can't help but let that seep into the workplace.
Right.
So there's a session on that. There's also one on neurodiversity, and that's really around like how do we engage like people with autism, for example, and help them thrive and succeed in the workplace. And then the fourth one that we have is on transgender, like 101. So how do we make sure our workplaces are welcoming of transgender individuals?
Really important because there's a lot of homelessness in that population, we know, in
Absolutely.
Ohio. Mary, thanks for sharing some time with us today and telling us more about the symposium on Friday.
Thank you.
Good to see you.